Liam wandered deeper into the forest than he had ever gone before. The trees twisted and turned in shapes that seemed almost alive, and the air shimmered with faint colors like the forest itself was breathing around him. He had always been drawn to the unknown, to the places where sunlight barely touched the ground and the wind whispered secrets that no one else seemed to hear. Today he felt a pull stronger than ever, as if something was calling him from the heart of the forest. His boots sank into the soft moss, and he could hear the faint hum of insects and the distant cry of some unseen creature. He paused to listen, a shiver running down his spine, because this sound was different. It was higher pitched and carried a note of fear that made him stop dead in his tracks. He crept forward, heart pounding every step, careful yet desperate to discover the source. The trees grew denser, and the air cooler, and the colors around him deepened into strange blues and purples. He caught sight of movement out of the corner of his eye, and turned just in time to see a flash of light dart behind a cluster of ferns and vines. He froze, wondering if it was a trick of the light, or something far more real and alive. He took a cautious step forward and then another until he reached a small clearing where the ground was broken and scorched, as if something had fallen or been dragged through here. Recently then he saw her. She was crouched in the underbrush, small, fragile, and trembling. Her skin glowed softly in hues of silver and lilac, and her eyes were wide and shining like jewels, reflecting fear and pain. Liam's breath caught in his throat as he realized she was wounded blood of a color he had never seen before streaked across her arm and smudged her delicate clothes. She flinched, as if sensing him, and pressed herself against the ground, trying to hide behind twisted roots and glowing mushrooms. Liam wanted to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. He knew he could not just leave her here alone, not when something had hurt her so badly. He crouched down slowly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. His eyes searched hers, pleading for trust, and slowly she lifted her head, a trembling sigh escaping her lips. Liam noticed her wings were tattered, one bent at an odd angle, and his heart ached at the sight of her fragile frame. She whispered something he could not understand, words like music carried on the wind, yet the fear and pain were universal. Liam realized she had nowhere to run, and if he did not act soon, whatever had hurt her could return at any moment. He made a decision then and there that he would not leave her. He would help her, even if it meant risking himself. Every instinct screamed caution, yet courage surged through him like fire. He gently extended his hand and smiled, a small, shaky smile, trying to show her he was a friend. He murmured words of comfort, the ones he hoped she could understand, and she hesitated, her glowing eyes flicking between him and the forest around them. Then a rustle behind the trees made both of them start. Liam knew this was only the beginning, and that the forest held dangers far beyond his imagining, but he refused to turn away, for he could not abandon her, not now, not ever. Liam felt his heart hammering in his chest as he stayed crouched beside the trembling alien girl. Her glowing eyes flicked nervously toward the shadows between the trees, and he could see the tension in every line of her body. She shivered and hugged her arms around herself as if trying to make herself smaller. He whispered gently, trying to offer comfort, words that felt weak against the vast unknown surrounding them, yet he refused to stop speaking. His voice was soft, calm, carrying warmth that he hoped she could understand. The alien girl lifted her head slightly, her wings twitching nervously. Liam noticed the faint scars etched into her skin, faint like the trace of a memory or a battle she had survived somewhere far from this forest. He could not understand the words she murmured, but he caught the tone of fear and confusion. She stared at him wide-eyed, and when she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible, like the wind over the leaves, yet it carried a fragile hope. Liam extended his hand slowly, and she flinched but did not pull away. The glowing in her eyes pulsed faintly, as if testing him, assessing him. The way the forest itself seemed to measure every movement. He could feel the weight of the moment, as if the forest had paused to watch them. Her wings quivered, and the light around them seemed to bend and shimmer in response to her presence. Liam wondered where she had come from, what kind of world she belonged to, and what horrors she might have fled, yet there was no time for questions, only the urgent need to protect her. The forest was alive, with rustles and creaks that made every hair on his arms stand on end. Liam gently encouraged her to rise, helping her to her feet, supporting her fragile frame with his own strength. He noticed how light she was, yet how surprisingly strong her grip was as she clutched at his sleeve, as if trusting him with her life. A sudden snap of a branch made both of them flinch, and Liam instinctively positioned himself in front of her, shielding her with his body. The alien girl looked at him with wide eyes, and for the first time, a faint smile tugged at the corners of her glowing lips, as if she recognized in him A protector. They moved slowly through the forest, Liam guiding her around roots and glowing plants that seemed to reach out toward them. He spoke softly in words she could not understand, yet his tone was full of reassurance and courage. She mirrored his movements, hesitating at first, then gradually, matching his pace. Her small hands brushed against his arm for balance, and Liam felt a spark of connection stronger than anything he had experienced before. Every step was a dance between caution and survival, as the forest seemed to watch them like an invisible audience waiting for the first sign of danger. Liam kept scanning the shadows for movement, yet tried to focus on the alien girl, making sure she was safe. He realized then that he would fight with every ounce of himself to protect her, to face whatever lurked in this strange forest, and to earn her trust no matter the cost. She glanced up at him, and he nodded silently, signaling that they would face this together, that they were no longer alone. And for the first time since entering the forest, Liam felt a fierce determination that he would not let fear control him. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as Liam and the alien girl moved carefully through the thick underbrush. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves, made Liam tense. He felt the weight of unseen eyes upon them, and knew that danger was closing in. He could sense the forest shift around them, the colors deepening and shadows lengthening, as if warning them to turn back, yet he could not leave her, not now, not when she depended on him. Suddenly, a deafening roar tore through the trees, a sound so fierce and primal that Liam felt it rattle his chest. His eyes widened and he spun around, just in time to see a massive beast emerge from the shadows. Its body was covered in matted fur that glimmered with streaks of red and black. Its claws were long and sharp like jagged knives, and its glowing eyes fixed on them with a hunger that made Liam's stomach drop. The alien girl gasped and instinctively clutched at Liam's sleeve, her small body trembling against him. Without thinking, Liam threw himself in front of her, bracing for impact. He shouted a warning that was lost in the roar of the beast as it lunged forward. Its jaws snapped inches from his face, and he felt the searing pain of its teeth sinking into his arm. His muscles tensed, and adrenaline surged through his veins as he held his ground, protecting her. With every ounce of strength he had, he gritted his teeth, ignoring the burning pain, knowing that any hesitation could cost them both their lives. The alien girl cried out, a high piercing sound that seemed to echo through the forest. Her wings fluttered weakly as she struggled to maintain balance. Liam could feel her heartbeat racing against his side, and he realized how fragile she was, how little time they had before the beast reached them again. He kicked out blindly, striking the creature in its flank, and it recoiled with a growl that shook the trees. Its claws raked the ground inches from their feet, sending shards of bark flying. Liam grabbed a fallen branch and swung it with all his strength, aiming to keep the beast at bay. The beast circled them, its eyes never leaving their faces. Its growls reverberated like thunder, and every movement was filled with lethal intent. Liam could feel his arm throbbing with pain, blood dripping onto the forest floor, yet he did not falter. He held the alien girl close, shielding her with his body, and whispering words of reassurance. Even as the danger pressed round them, he saw her eyes flicker with a mixture of fear and trust, and it fueled a courage deep within him that he had never known. The forest seemed to tremble as the beast lunged again. Liam pivoted, catching its weight and forcing it back, using his body as a barrier. He could hear its snarls and feel its hot breath, but he refused to let go, refusing to let it harm the girl who had come to trust him for the first time. Every fiber of his being screamed with the need to survive and protect, and in that moment Liam realized that fear was not stronger than the bond forming between them, and that together they might just have a chance against the creature that threatened to tear them apart. Liam stumbled forward, clutching the alien girl to his chest, every step a battle against the pain in his arm and the fear gnawing at his mind. The forest around them twisted and warped as if trying to trap them between its glowing roots and towering trees. Every shadow seemed alive, and every rustle whispered threats that made his heart race faster. He dared not look back, yet he could feel the beast pursuing them, its growls vibrating through the ground, and the wind carrying the stench of its fur and blood. Lyra clung to him desperately, her wings weak and fluttering with each frantic step. Liam adjusted his grip, holding her closer so she would not fall or be struck by the thick underbrush. The ground was uneven, roots snaking across the path like hungry snakes and glowing fungi protruding like jagged teeth. Liam stumbled over a gnarled root and nearly fell, but he caught himself in time, pulling Lyra upright and urging her onward. The forest seemed endless, and every turn brought new obstacles, vines whipping their faces and low-hanging branches threatening to slow their flight. Beasts crashed behind them, tearing through foliage with terrifying speed. its eyes locked on them like twin infernos. Liam could feel the tremor of its steps in his chest and knew that it would not stop until it had reached them. He ducked beneath a low branch, urging Lyra to do the same, and whispered words of encouragement, though his voice was strained and rough with panic, yet he refused to let her see him falter. Every beat of his heart was a drum of survival, every breath a prayer for strength. They leaped over a fallen log and Liam felt his arm tear slightly as the wound reopened, the pain burning white-hot through him, but he pushed forward, ignoring it. He glanced down at Lyra, her small glowing face pale but determined, and he knew he could not let anything happen to her. They burst into a small clearing, and for a moment Liam allowed himself the illusion of safety, the open space giving him a brief glimpse of the sky above, streaked with strange colors and glowing lights. Then the beast emerged from the tree line, a shadow among shadows, massive and unrelenting. Its roar shook the clearing, and Liam could see the muscles rippling under its fur and the lethal precision in its movements. He grabbed Lyra and ran toward a narrow ravine. He had noticed earlier the jagged rocks, promising both danger and a chance at escape. The beast followed without hesitation, and the forest seemed to shudder as it pounded after them. Liam's lungs burned and his legs ached, but he ran harder than he ever had, his mind focused only on keeping Lyra safe. He dodged low-hanging vines and vaulted over rocks, keeping her close and whispering words of comfort, even as the world around them seemed determined to destroy them. The alien girl clung to him tightly, her wings catching the faint glow of the forest and reflecting it like tiny lanterns of hope. Liam knew that if they could just reach the ravine, they might have a chance to trap the beast, or at least slow it enough to survive. Every step was a gamble, every movement a test of courage. Liam's mind raced with strategies and escape routes, yet the forest offered no mercy, and the beast pressed closer, its growls a relentless soundtrack to their desperate flight. He could feel the bond forming stronger with every shared heartbeat and every ounce of determination driving them forward, and he realized that survival would not just be about running, it would be about trust and courage and the willingness to face the unimaginable together. Liam and Lyra stumbled into the cave, the narrow mouth barely hidden behind thick vines and glowing moss. His legs shook from exhaustion and pain, yet he did not stop clutching her close. The air inside was cool and damp, a sharp contrast to the chaos of the forest outside. The walls pulsed faintly with bioluminescent plants that cast strange patterns across the jagged stone, making the cave seem alive and watching. They paused for a moment to catch their breath. Liam pressed his palm against the cold rock and felt the rhythm of the cave, almost like it was breathing with them. Lyra sank to the ground, her wings drooping and trembling. She looked up at him with glowing eyes that reflected both fear and relief. Liam knelt beside her gently, brushing back a strand of hair from her face and murmuring words she could not understand, yet he hoped she felt the comfort in his tone. The wound on her arm was worse than he had realized, a streak of silver blood glistening where the skin was torn. Liam's own arm throbbed unbearably from the beast's bite, yet he refused to give in. To pain his focus entirely on her survival, he tore a strip of cloths from his shirt and pressed it lightly against her arm, trying to stop the bleeding. Lyra winced and a small whimper escaped her lips. Liam's heart tightened at the sound. He whispered again, assuring her that she was safe here, that the beast could not reach them within these walls. Her breathing began to slow slightly, and Liam could see her eyelids fluttering with the first hint of calm since they had fled the forest. He brushed his hand along her shoulder, and she leaned into him tentatively, a silent acknowledgement of trust. The cave was quiet except for the drip of water from the ceiling and the faint hum of the bioluminescent plants. Liam felt the weight of the forest pressing against the entrance, every shadow outside a reminder of the beast waiting beyond the safety of these walls. He scanned the cave quickly, noting small ledges and hidden crevices that could serve as shelter if they needed to hide further. Lyra shifted slightly, her glowing eyes observing the strange forms around them, and Liam realized that she was beginning to understand that they were safe. For now he lowered himself beside her on the rocky ground, and offered what comfort he could, even as his own wounds screamed in protest. His mind raced with strategies of survival, how to escape the forest, how to find help, and how to protect the fragile alien girl whose trust he had earned in so short a time. Every rustle outside made him tense, yet he remained steady, speaking softly and holding her close. Lyra finally allowed herself to rest her head against his shoulder, a small sigh escaping her lips that told him she felt some measure of safety for the first time since the forest had attacked. Time seemed suspended as Liam watched her small form glow faintly in the dim light of the cave. He whispered promises he hoped she could understand, promising that he would protect her, that nothing would harm her as long as he drew breath. The cave seemed to embrace them, the strange glowing plants, casting shadows that danced across the walls, like silent witnesses to their shared struggle. Liam realized that despite the fear, the exhaustion, and the pain, a bond had formed between them, unspoken, but strong enough to defy the dangers of the world outside. The cave grew still as the shadows shifted near the entrance. Liam's muscles tensed, every nerve alert, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Suddenly a low hum filled the air, a deep resonant vibration that seemed to move through the stone walls and through Liam's chest. He instinctively shielded Lyra with his body, and looked toward the entrance where a figure began to emerge from the darkness. The light from the glowing plants caught on it, revealing a towering presence, unlike anything Liam had ever seen. The alien chief stepped into the cave, a giant of a being with armor that shimmered in shifting colors, reflecting the cave's bioluminescent glow. His eyes were deep pools of light, calculating and intense, yet holding an authority that demanded attention. Liam felt a chill run down his spine as he realized he was in the presence of someone far older and wiser than himself. The alien girl stirred beside him, trembling, yet her wings flickered with recognition. As she gazed up at the figure, Liam could see the mixture of fear and reverence in her expression, and knew that this being held power beyond his comprehension. The chief's gaze moved slowly over Liam, lingering on the human boy with an intensity that made him feel like every thought was being weighed and measured. He did not speak, but Liam could feel the weight of judgment pressing down on him. The silent question of loyalty and intent, echoing in the very air of the cave. He swallowed hard and met the alien chief's gaze, refusing to look away even as every instinct screamed that he should flee. Lyra's small hand brushed against his arm, her glow dimming slightly as if sensing his own anxiety. The alien chief extended a massive hand, and the hum in the cave deepened, vibrating through Liam's bones. The air seemed charged with energy as the chief observed the interaction between the boy and the girl. Liam realized that this was a test, a measure of his courage and his willingness to protect Lyra even under the scrutiny of a being far more powerful than he could imagine. He straightened his back and spoke softly to Lyra, offering reassurance, though he did not know if the chief could understand his words. A strange language filled the cave, then tones deep and resonant, vibrating against the walls, yet Liam felt the meaning more than heard it. It was not threatening but probing, as if the chief was assessing every intention, every emotion. Liam focused on his resolve, the bond he had formed with Lyra, and the courage that had carried them through the forest. He stepped slightly forward, shielding Lyra instinctively, and allowed the chief to move closer, the glow from his own wound catching the shifting light of the Lyra's wings fluttered faintly, and she whispered a sound that Liam did not understand, yet it carried trust and recognition. Liam realized then that the chief had arrived, not to punish but to judge, to decide if this human boy who had faced a beast and risked everything to protect a fragile alien girl was worthy of their continued safety. The alien chief's presence filled the cave with a weight that was almost tangible. Liam held his ground and met the gaze without flinching, understanding that this moment would define not only their survival, but the bond between him and Lyra, and the fate of the strange forest that had tested them so mercilessly. The alien chief's eyes glowed brighter, and the air in the cave seemed to hum with expectation. Liam felt the weight of it pressing down on him, as if every shadow and every stone was watching his next move. He tightened his grip on Lyra instinctively, knowing that this test was not merely of strength but of heart and intent. The chief stepped back slowly, and the vibration in the cave shifted almost imperceptibly, like the first notes of a storm. Liam could feel the tension coil around him, and he knew that one misstep could shatter the fragile trust he had built. Without a word, the chief gestured toward a narrow crevice at the far end of the cave, a dark opening that seemed to swallow the faint glow of the bioluminescent plants. Liam glanced at it and felt a surge of instinctive fear. The crevice was narrow, jagged, and ominous, and he sensed the faint rustle of something moving within it. Something alive, something watching. He turned to Lyra and saw her wings flicker with hesitation, yet she looked to him for guidance. Liam swallowed hard and nodded reassuringly, even as his own stomach tightened with apprehension. He stepped forward, cautiously leading Lyra toward the shadowed crevice. His footfalls echoed softly in the cave, and every sound seemed amplified by the expectant silence. Liam could feel the alien chief's gaze burning into his back, measuring every decision, every hesitation. As he approached the darkness, a low growl echoed from within the crevice, and he froze. His pulse raced and sweat ran down his brow, yet he refused to let fear dominate him. He extended his hand toward Lyra, urging her to follow even as the darkness seemed to twist and shift around them. The growl grew louder, and a pair of glowing eyes appeared. Within the shadow, Liam's heart jumped, but he did not retreat. He realized the chief had placed this challenge not merely to frighten but to see if he would protect Lyra even when faced with unknown danger. He placed himself between the girl and the shadowed threat, his body tense and ready to act. His arm throbbed from the beast's earlier attack, yet he ignored the pain, focusing solely on her safety. The shadow moved closer, revealing the faint outline of another creature, smaller than the beast's but just as dangerous. Its teeth glinted faintly, and its claws scraped against the stone floor. Liam tightened his jaw and whispered soothing words to Lyra, trying to convey calm. Even as his nerves screamed in protest, he shifted slightly, positioning himself so that he could shield her, and at the same time assess the creature's movements. He realized the test was not about defeating it, but about demonstrating courage, control, and the instinct to protect. Lyra hesitated, then slowly stepped behind him, trusting his lead. Her small hand brushed against his arm, and he felt a surge of determination stronger than any fear. The shadowed creature paused, measuring them, and Liam held his ground, unwavering. The hum of the cave seeming to respond to his resolve. He met the gaze of the alien chief across the cave, and saw a faint nod of approval, as if his courage and loyalty had been recognized even before the challenge was fully complete. Time seemed suspended as the creature finally retreated into the shadows. Liam kept his stance firm until it disappeared completely. Then he exhaled slowly, lowering himself slightly, yet still shielding Lyra. His heartbeat thundered in his chest, but a quiet pride filled him. He had faced the unknown, stood firm, and protected the fragile being who had come to trust him, and in that instant he understood the bond he had formed with Lyra, and the respect he had earned from the alien chief would carry them through whatever lay ahead. The cave settled into a quiet rhythm after the test, the faint hum of the bioluminescent plants filling the space like a soft heartbeat. Liam lowered himself carefully beside Lyra, letting her rest against his side. Her wings quivered slightly, but no longer with fear. Instead, there was a fragile relaxation, as if she was beginning to trust him completely. He brushed a strand of luminous hair from her face and whispered soft words that she could not understand, yet her eyes glimmered with recognition and relief. Liam felt a warmth spread through his chest, a quiet pride that he had earned her trust, and that they had survived together. The alien chief remained at the entrance, his towering presence a silent guardian. Liam could feel the scrutiny in the air, but it no longer weighed on him, the tension replaced by a cautious respect. The chief's gaze softened slightly, and the hum in the cave shifted subtly, a tone of approval that Liam could sense more than hear. It was a confirmation that his courage, his loyalty, and his care for Lyra had been recognized, and that he had become more than just a human boy wandering in a strange forest. Lyra shifted closer, her small hands resting lightly against Liam's arm, and he felt a connection deepen between them, stronger than anything he had experienced before. The pain in his arm from the beast's bite throbbed faintly, yet it was overshadowed by the sense of purpose that surged through him. Protecting her had given him strength he had not known he possessed. He spoke softly again, murmuring promises of safety, reassurance, and friendship, even as he marveled at the fragile beauty of the alien girl, who had survived so much and still carried a spark of hope in her glowing eyes. Passed quietly as they shared the cave, Liam exploring small ledges and shadows to make a comfortable resting place, while Lyra observed him curiously, her glow dimming and brightening with each subtle movement. He offered her food and water scavenged from his pack, and she accepted cautiously at first. Then, with growing confidence, he laughed softly when she tried to imitate him with his gestures, and she let out a high, delicate trill that made him smile despite his exhaustion. Their communication became a dance of gestures, whispers, and shared glances, bridging the gap between their worlds. The bond strengthened further when Liam taught her to move carefully through the cave, his hands guiding her wings to avoid the jagged rocks and luminescent plants. They shared silent victories, each successful step a testament to trust and patience. Every time she looked up at him and mirrored his movements, he felt a surge of protectiveness and pride. It was more than survival now, it was partnership, a fragile yet undeniable connection that neither the forest nor the beast could sever. The alien chief finally approached slowly, watching their interaction with measured interest. Liam felt no fear, only determination, as the figure knelt briefly near them, a silent acknowledgement that their bond had passed another measure of the chief's judgment. Lyra nestled closer to Liam, instinctively sensing his calm and courage, and for the first time, Liam understood that they were no longer alone. In this strange world, the cave felt warmer somehow, alive with their presence, and the quiet approval of the alien chief marking the beginning of a trust that would carry them forward into the unknown adventures and dangers awaiting beyond the glowing shadows of the forest. The forest outside the cave was alive with shadows and distant sounds, yet Liam felt a calm resolve settle over him. He adjusted his hold on Lyra, her small hands clutching his arm, as they prepared to move beyond the safety of the cave. The alien chief stood at the entrance, a towering silhouette, framed by the glowing forest light, his presence both protective and commanding. Liam felt a surge of determination, knowing that they had faced the unimaginable together, and survived. A low growl rumbled in the distance, and Liam tensed instinctively, yet this time the fear was tempered by the bond they had forged. He glanced down at Lyra, and saw the trust in her eyes, the quiet strength that had grown through their shared trials. Her wings flickered softly with anticipation and courage, and Liam knew that whatever lay ahead they would face it as one. He took a deep breath and led her forward, stepping carefully into the dense forest, the alien chief moving silently beside them like a guardian whose presence demanded respect. The ground was uneven, and the glowing flora seemed to shimmer, as if acknowledging their passage. Liam kept his senses alert, scanning for movement, yet he felt a quiet confidence in his own strength, and in the partnership they had built with Lyra. Her small frame matched his pace, and he offered silent guidance, every gesture a reassurance of safety and care. The forest was no longer a place of terror. It had become a stage for courage, resilience, and the unexpected unity of beings from different worlds. Suddenly the beast emerged from the shadows, its massive frame glistening with dark fur and red streaks. Its eyes locked on them with hunger and fury, yet Liam did not falter. He positioned himself in front of Lyra instinctively, his body tense and ready. His arm ached from the previous bite, but the pain was drowned out by determination. He whispered softly to Lyra, who mirrored his stance, her wings stretching slightly, her glow brighter. As if fueled by their shared courage, the alien chief stepped forward, releasing a low resonant hum that vibrated through the ground and into the beast. The creature hesitated, its growl fading, as if sensing a power greater than its own. Liam seized the moment, and together they moved in unison, guiding Lyra behind them, and positioning themselves strategically. The forest seemed to pulse with energy, every shadow and rustle holding its breath as the tension reached its peak. Then slowly, the beast retreated, its massive form slipping back into the darkness of the forest, its hunger and fury replaced by caution. Liam exhaled sharply, and felt a wave of relief wash over him. Lyra leaned against him, her wings folding gently, and she murmured a sound Liam did not understand, yet it carried gratitude and trust. He smiled softly, brushing back her hair, and felt a quiet pride in what they had accomplished together. The alien chief lowered slightly, his glowing eyes observing them with a faint nod, acknowledging their bravery and the bond that had formed between the human and the alien. Girl, together the three of them stood on a cliff overlooking the forest below. The sky was painted with strange glowing hues, casting light on their silhouettes. Liam felt the bond between them stronger than ever. He knew that the trials of the forest had forged courage, trust, and friendship that would carry them forward into whatever unknown adventures awaited. They were no longer just a boy, a wounded alien, girl, and a powerful chief. They were a united force, a trio bound by courage, trust, and the unspoken promise to protect each other against any danger the universe could send.